I listened to a podcast today, Church History Matters. They posted a video called White Horse Prophecy in Depth. It's part of the Religion and Politics series, which has been an interesting series to hear. Um, they covered the White Horse Prophecy and honestly the Constitution hanging by a thread aspects, which I think would have been maybe a better title to say White Horse versus Constitution hanging by a thread or something, but that's besides the point. I had a lengthy comment on Insights. Go figure, I'm a Constitution nerd who just felt kind of called to finish figuring out what it was they were talking about. So this is my response that I wrote up here, and I'm just going to read it. That'll be today's video. I've loved studying President Benson, President Oaks, and J. Reuben Clark and H. Roland Anderson for years. A few years back, I found myself extensively studying the Constitution and Heavenly Banner, the book version, and defending our divinely inspired Constitution side by side, again and again. This led me to beginning to study the Constitution every day, eventually using the techniques of a classical musician to dial in my weak spots in understanding the whole thing. I feel that I still gain new insights from it every day. I have found close to 10 quotes from past prophets describing the Constitution as the law to go forth from Zion, which is why it is for all flesh, and why President Oaks emphasized that almost all countries have established constitutions at this point. Still, President Benson, as the sitting prophet, clarified that the only constitution upon which God had specifically placed his stamp of approval was the U.S. Constitution. Having dug deep into its principles and specifics, plus the amendment process, I have gained a more deep testimony of that. There is a secret combination that is part of why our Constitution still hangs by a thread and why President Benson made it sound like it was a way off in the future when he told us to prepare. By the way, he was opposed to violating the Second Amendment, but never encouraged anti-government militia type stuff. His exhortations of how to prepare are very similar to what President Oaks has said. When President Nelson locked arms with Amos C. Brown, that's exactly the kind of attitude President Benson said we would need in his talk, Civil Rights, Tool of Communist Deception. It's almost like all of our prophets are part of the same true vine, because they are. And so, continuing on here, anyhow, in studying all of our prophets, the scriptures, and the Constitution, I have come away confident that while it is not the original secret society with its secret meetings and perhaps oaths, the secret combination that we are upholding is the results of their efforts mostly. Search Presidents Benson, Clark, and Oaks. You will find rejection of or warnings about 1. Judicial supremacy, 2. The administrative state, and 3. Global governance. Most of us are seduced by these, but while bills, treaties, and amendments all have specific procedures, thresholds, and coordinations between different branches or levels of government written directly into the Constitution itself, these don't. They are more than the Constitution allows, and therefore come of evil according to the plain reading of the Scriptures. Guess who has been one of the most articulate speakers we've ever had teaching us these things, why these things are so inappropriate? President Oaks. I highly recommend looking up as many of his guest lectures as you can find. While President Benson might be appropriately compared to Jefferson in his unwavering dedication to principle, President Oaks might be appropriately compared to Madison in his awesome articulateness at teaching why these things violate our founding principles. I believe both Jefferson and Madison were right in the Kentucky and Virginia resolutions. Madison was simply more tactful, that's all. In the end, President Benson, as the sitting prophet, gave us the Constitution, a Heavenly Banner, the book version, the Constitution, a Heavenly Banner, the BYU talk, and our Divine Constitution, the General Conference talk. He exhorted us to be able to teach and defend the Constitution, and that the leaders would not tell us how to do it. Although President Oaks, many guest lectures have given us some great tools if we study and absorb them. Look up as many President Oaks talks as you can that he's done as a guest lecturer. They're great tools for defending the Constitution. Remember, President Benson said that we had not been wise stewards and that we had chipped away at every major clause of the Constitution. That sounds like a specific call. A call to a specific need for repentance if ever I've heard one. So this is why whenever I hear people say you guys need to stop focusing on these things, you need to be focusing on your repentance and this and that, I'm always like, That sounds pretty much like a call to repentance. What's part of the repentance process when it comes to the Constitution? Study it. Study what the prophets have said about it, what the founders said about it, but really study the Constitution itself. If you don't have time for the Jeffersons and Adams letters to each other, or the Federalist Papers, skip them. Skip them mostly. Mostly read the Constitution. Maybe ask a question here or there. Nowadays we got the internet, right? You can ask a quick question, but you will start pulling it together if you study it daily. You really will. So that's my thoughts. It was a pretty good video by these guys. They're clearly not Constitution nerds. They're clearly biased towards scholarly history, and but they sound like they're faithful to the church. And so hopefully that was a respectful response. We'll see you guys. Have a good one.